Welcome to another episode of the Leading Life Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Zook, and here is where we're going to talk about helping you become a stronger leader in all aspects of your life. All right, here we go. Right now, on today's episode, why do people shut down, and how do we as leaders bring them back? Welcome to the Leading Life Podcast, where we talk about what it takes to really grow, lead, and live life with purpose. I'm your host, Andy Zook, and each episode is designed to give you simple, real-world tools to help you show up as your best self in work and in life. Because when you lead yourself well, you inspire others to do the same. And I want to give you the tools to help you be stronger at leading, the psychology behind it, and give you that leadership edge to be even more effective at whatever you do. You know, I started this podcast because I truly care about the people that work on our teams and the leaders who lead them. And so I'm here to share what I've learned from over 30 years of leadership, coaching, mentoring, and motivating teams. And my examples and lessons are from the floor, from life, and growth myself. So let this be the platform that will challenge you so you can achieve everything you deserve in this life. You know, every leader knows that moment. Someone on your team goes quiet. You see their energy drop and they stop offering ideas. Something just shuts down. And most leaders think it's laziness or disengagement, but often it's really something deeper. But here's the good news. It's something completely fixable. And you know what? I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast before, but when I was first becoming a manager, I was pretty bad. Yeah, I'll always be completely honest and transparent with you. I was lacking in so many skills. I was caught up in being the manager and the title, and I was really concerned with who did exactly what and micromanaging each step of it, and expectations had to be met, blah, blah, blah. And it was pretty rough. And the next year, honestly, I got promoted to another location, higher volume location, and I didn't get any better that year. I thought I had to be really tough to get great results. But then I had a couple hard hits. You know, we delivered our goals, but I didn't necessarily have happy people underneath me. And so I learned the hard way. Really hard. I got some knives in my back in those years, and that hurt. But what I learned was I didn't have to be just nice to get people to perform. I just needed to be relatable and real. And that's what we're really going to talk about in this episode. And so ultimately that became my style. Human, relatable, setting a higher expectation with a devotion to coaching people how to get there. And that's really the heart of this episode, is that I want you to be able to clue in when you see someone disconnecting. Because if you don't, and you're not able to gauge that, it's ultimately sometimes going to end up too late to fix. And here's the thing I tell a lot of young managers, is that whatever you let knowingly slip through your hands, it'll ultimately be your demise. And I don't want that to sound drastic, but what I'm saying is that when we allow things to take place that we know are slipping away, we create the grounds for a bad situation to get worse. And so what I really love about this episode is we're going to really dig into a format at the end that will help you re-engage with anybody you believe might be drifting, breaking away, or worse, shutting down. And so let's dig into the psychology first of why people start to shut down, back away from work, or, start quiet quitting. And let's break this into 5 simple human reasons. Number 1, they don't feel psychologically safe. Yeah. So maybe they have a fear of saying the wrong thing, fear of judgment or punishment. Yes, safety for your workers is crucial. And I know in another episode, I told you the story about a young lady joining our team, and I said, hey, you're safe now. She had worked previously at other places where she was constantly on pins and needles if she was doing things wrong based on her boss's mood. Create a place where people feel psychologically safe. Create an openness so they can express themselves. Number 2, they don't feel seen or valued. Yeah, that's crucial. Feeling invisible leads to disengagement. People stop trying when effort goes unnoticed. Remember in another episode I was telling you about if you don't get back to somebody or you ignore a text message, staying neutral, not responding, it is perceived as negative. So it is super important that your people feel valued, and we'll talk about that. Number 3, they're overwhelmed or burned out. Emotional exhaustion shows up as withdrawal. Leaders often mistake this for a bad attitude. Number 4, they don't believe their voice matters. When ideas get dismissed or when they're told not now too often, they start to believe that they don't matter at all and their abilities are not seen. Number 5, maybe they're dealing with something personal. Yeah, sometimes this is a big one because outside of work, there's family, there's health, there's life changes. People are living and breathing just like you are, and people rarely announce some of the pains that they're going through at work. It's too personal. So most shutdowns aren't defiance, they're protection. Let's talk about how great leaders can bring their people back. And this is really a 5-part leadership playbook for you. Number 1, lead with curiosity, not judgment. So, hey, I noticed you seem a little bit quiet lately. Is everything okay? Something as simple as that to kind of check in. And hey, how can I support you right now? I would have a check-in with each subordinate for at least 5 to 10 minutes once a week because this is absolutely vital for them feeling like you care. And they matter. Obviously, it's going to depend on the size of your team, but I think if you really care, you'll figure out a way to make time. So when I worked in our home office, almost every brand president could take the time to come over to my cube and talk to me. And it would be without me even prompting them. But yeah, we went through a couple different brand leaders and they would come over and say, "Hey, Andy, what's going on? How are you, man?" And ask me questions. The important thing about this is I mean face-to-face or at least a phone call. Text messages do not count because you cannot feel the tone, hear the tone, and it's easy to misinterpret messages in a text. So please don't rely on that. The best leaders I know, if they can't see subordinates face-to-face, they make a phone call and take the time to listen to them. I remember when I got back from my honeymoon and I had been out of work for like 10 days. Me and my wife were in Europe and my first day back to work was just insane, right? And I was running all around trying to get to everything. And I could tell one of my coworkers kept kind of waiting for me to engage with them. But we were all so busy and I was swamped and I never got the chance. So I got home that night, probably like late, 7 or 8 o'clock, and I was at work at 8 in the morning. And I called them and I just said, "Hey, I'm sorry I didn't get to check in with you at work. How have you been? Tell me what's going on." And that meant the world to them because they had felt so ignored for 10 days, and then the first day back, I didn't even get a chance to connect with them. But I saw it, I observed it, and I made sure I made the connection. Like I said, lead with curiosity, not judgment. Ask questions and make the call. Or more importantly, get face-to-face. Number 2, normalize being human. Yeah. Let them know it's okay to struggle. One of the best stories I ever heard was a director had come into one of our stores and he's like, "Oh, I don't understand why you guys can't sell this particular product." And he said, "I'll go on the floor within a half an hour. I'll make one of those sales with ease," right? So the director walks out on the sales floor. He works for like 4 hours with people and could not sell the product himself. And he goes over to the manager with his tail between his legs and he's like, "Gosh, now I feel the struggle. I couldn't do it either." So the first thing is to recognize the struggle and empathize with it. And then figure out steps to help get your team wrap their arms around it. Going out and say, "Yeah, anybody can do this," and you're not even sure if you can do it, is not being very human with your people. Remember, it's okay to struggle. There's that great definition of leadership by leadership experts Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner. Leadership is the art of mobilizing others to want to struggle for shared aspirations. So get in the struggle with them and share what's involved in getting through it. Don't act like it's so easy and that there's this clear, simple way to do it because your people will shut down, all right? Be human and recognize the struggle. Number 3, create small wins to rebuild confidence. Yeah, I remember my first store manager position and I wanted everything to just come together overnight. And so I'd spoken with my mom on the phone and I was like, "Hey, we need to do this. We need to do that. People need to be more engaged. We've got to step it up with the delivery of this product." And my mom just said, Andy, slow down. Rome wasn't built in a day. You got to start with the small wins. Celebrate the small things. As Will Smith says, when you're working toward a goal, you don't just, let's say you're building a brick wall. You don't just put a bunch of bricks together and instantly you've got a wall. No, you lay one brick really well, as perfectly as you can, and then you lay the next brick on top of that. And that's how you build the wall. Because if you throw everything up all at once, most likely it's not going to hold and it's going to collapse. So start with building their confidence with the wins that you are making. There has to be some things to start with what you're doing right. You have to have the right ingredients to cook a recipe. So start with recognizing that you've got the right people and start with one or two simple behaviors that are helping lead the team to the ultimate outcome. Celebrate small wins with your people and talk about what's going right and the next steps to build from there. Number 4, reinforce their value. Yeah. So as you know, I'm really big into this. I did a whole episode about it. I think that sometimes as leaders, we can be short-sighted on the quality and value of our people. I mean, every leader should have a notebook with every staff member listed with their strengths and their opportunities. And the first thing they should be is noticing their strengths and telling them about them. Telling them that you see their strengths and how they can build on them. You could say things like, hey, your voice matters a lot on this team. I appreciate how you do this certain task, or hey, we're even better when you're here working with us. Point out how they matter to the team, the strengths that they have, and how it connects to the big picture of what you're trying to do. And then lastly, reconnect them to purpose. People re-engage when they remember why they matter and where they fit. Effective leaders highlight their people, not their position. So I know I talk about this a lot, but I'm in the optical industry, and sometimes we get so caught up in all these deliverables, all this stuff, that we forget about why we came through the door in the morning and we turned the lights on to begin with. And that is to help people see their lives better, to help people take care of their eye health. It's as simple as that. And when I say those words to people, everybody kind of slows down and was like, oh yeah, you're right. And they reconnect to what our purpose is. Let's even go broader. Let's say you work in a ready-to-wear clothing shop, and a mother and her daughter come in and you help the daughter try on a couple different dresses. And she finally says, oh, I love this one. And you're like, okay, great. That's a great looking dress. Let's ring you up. And you ring them up. You say, thank you. Send them on their way. Was your purpose just to sell a dress? No, it's bigger than that. Because maybe you didn't know that dress is for her graduation party. Yeah, maybe you didn't know she's going to be wearing that dress tomorrow night after she graduates from high school at a big family gathering. And there'll be tons of pictures taken with her and her family. And she'll be wearing that very dress. And she will look back on that day in those photos, that dress that she wore, and it'll be remembered as something beautiful in her life. So if you're the manager of that clothing store, you can point that out, that you're not just selling clothing, but we're helping people look their best for certain experiences in their life. When you, as a leader, can break things down and get people connected to a higher purpose, you start creating magic. All right, so here is your leadership edge for this episode. Great leaders don't just chase performance, they engage and re-energize their people. So be the leader who understands human emotion. Be the leader who connects deeper. Be the leader who builds trust. Be the leader who sees what other people miss. And be the leader who brings people back with dignity. And here is your call to arms this episode. I want you to think of one person on your team who's been a little quieter lately. You know who that is. If you're aware of all your people working with you, you can name at least one or two people. I want you to reach out today, not with pressure, but with presence. Your small check-in might be the thing that brings them back. And it could sound something like this. And here's what I really want you to clue into. Thanks for meeting with me today. I wanted to check in with you because you matter to this team. And I want to make sure that you're supported. This helps sets the tone. You're safe, I care, and I'm not here to judge. So that's step number 1. Get to that person and say, thanks for meeting with me. I wanted to check in with you. Number 2, share what you've observed. I've noticed over the past few weeks that you've been a little quieter. I just want to make sure everything is okay. This is not a criticism, it's just an observation because I know the strengths that you bring to the team. In this approach, you're describing behavior, not making assumptions, and you're reminding them that they have value. Number 3, the next step is to lead with curiosity. I wanted to check in with you. How are you feeling lately? Is there anything on your mind? And pause, breathe, let them talk. Is there anything here at work that feels heavy or frustrating right now? And this works because people open up when they're invited, not interrogated. And then make sure you validate their feelings. After they share, respond with something like, hey, thanks for being honest. I appreciate you sharing that. It makes total sense how you're feeling. Or, man, wow, that sounds like a lot to carry, and I would love to help with that. So it's not such a burden. And this works because validation is unlocking a mechanism for trust. And then lastly, number 5, build connection and partnership. You could say, I want you to know something. Your voice really matters on this team, and I genuinely want to help you get back to a place where you feel confident and supported. Maybe ask a couple more questions. What's one thing I can do to support you better right now? Or what would make work feel a little easier these next couple weeks? Or what's one small win we can create together to help you get back into a better rhythm? This puts you on the same side as the employee, not across from them. Come back with confirming what they told. Okay, here is what I'm hearing. And let's start with this one small step this week. And some things you could simply do is adjusting their workload, pairing them with someone, giving them a low pressure task they enjoy, revisiting expectations, maybe having more check-ins, and having clear structure and removing the friction that maybe they're feeling. And then lastly, end with, let's reconnect in a week to see how you're doing. You're important to me, and I want to make sure we get you back to a place where you feel like you're thriving. Yeah, I think that's a really solid method. And quite simply, just start with a check-in. And that is simply asking, I noticed you've been a little bit quieter lately. I wanted to check in with you. Again, number 2, share what you've observed. Number 3, lead with curiosity. Number 4, make sure we validate their feelings. And lastly, 5, rebuild connection and partnership. And I guarantee that will really help bring them back. They know that you care. They know that you take their concerns seriously. And they know they have now a path to move forward. And so a couple final thoughts. People don't shut down because they don't care. Remember that. They shut down because they care more than they carry. And so great leaders don't pull people out of a shutdown. They instead create a space where people want to come back on their own. All right. So that is my episode for today. I hope that helps. I think that's got some real world examples in there that will help you be better and help re-engage somebody that could be drifting on your team. And the most important thing I can say to you is do not let it go on another day. If you see someone disconnecting, get on it as soon as you can and connect with them. Be real, be human, be relatable. Those are the leaders that make the greatest difference. Thanks again for listening. Pass this episode to maybe another leader, coworker, manager, family member, brother, sister, anybody you think that could benefit. Please hit subscribe if you like what you're hearing on the Leading Life podcast. And I'm going to leave you the way I always do, and that is go out, lead on, lead strong, be awesome you. But most importantly, be the hero in somebody's story and be the one to make a difference. Okay? All right. Until the next episode, we will talk soon. Have an awesome week. Bye. Wait, you're still here? Well, I'm glad you're still with me. I wanted to say thanks again for listening to the Leading Life podcast. I'm so glad you joined me, and I hope this impacted you. And I care about you, and I hope that what I've learned over the years will impact you for the better. And I just want to remind you that when your people disengage, it's not about attitude. It's about them feeling unseen. Great leaders don't pressure them back. Instead, we invite them back. Remember that disengagement is a signal, not a flaw. So listen to it, and you'll learn how to lead them back with confidence. Your people don't need a push. They sometimes just need a place to land. So create that safety and watch engagement return. I promise it will. All right, carry on. Be awesome. Be the hero in somebody's story. Thanks. Bye.